Big news that came out of the Kirk Cousins conference call related to his effort to discuss, to analyze, to assess the possibility of playing games without fans present, which is a distinct possibility in 2020. Here's what Kirk Cousins had to say.
Honestly, to go out and just play the game would kind of be refreshing and breath of fresh air to just know that, we don't have to have all the smoke and the fire. We can just go play football. So as long as we're playing the game, I won't have a lot of complaints. And hopefully, if it's still not returned to normal, hopefully we can find a way to make it work.
That's one of those moments where your inner monologue and your outer monologue should maybe not mesh, because it just doesn't sound good for a guy who makes his money in large part based upon the fans who pay to show up and watch him play, to create the impression, not that he just wouldn't mind if the fans aren't there, but he'd actually kind of prefer it.
I think this is Kirk Cousins saying, like, could you imagine me in prime time not having to deal with the pressure of fans? This could be my first time I win a Monday Night Football game. I'm just shocked that sound clip exists of you saying that the gap between Patrick Mahomes and Kirk Cousins isn't that large. Was that when Patrick Mahomes was injured? When he was actually not playing?
Yes. It was when he first came back. And Cousins was on a tear then. He was on a ridiculous statistical tear at the time, which seems hard to believe in hindsight, but it was true at the moment. And Mahomes was working his way back from the knee injury that caused him to miss a couple of games. So, yes, thank you for pointing out the context. That was not a January take. That was a November take.
It is interesting, though, that Kirk Cousins has this, perspective. I think what happened here more than anything is he's hearing people say it would be great to get back to normal. It would be great to have sports back in our lives. And then he took that message and pushed it to the next level of, it would almost be great if fans never played or never were at the stadium and never booed me. And I didn't have to have the pressure of performing under, thousands of eyes and let all of them down. It'd be great if they just stayed at home and we had that wall, that TV that was in between us. So I don't even have to think about the hopes and dreams of Vikings nations getting crushed every single year.
And here's the thing. If you're an offensive player, it is better to not have fans there at all games, because for half the games, you don't have to worry about silent counts. You don't have to worry about crowd noise. George Kittle was on with us on Friday, and he explained, I kind of like it because I want to go to New Orleans and Seattle and not have to worry about not being able to hear myself think. And it's only a problem for your defense at home games. And that would be a major disadvantage for the Vikings defense, because the noise at home games helps them gain an edge over the offense, which loses its split-second head start on the play. When you can't hear the snap count, when you don't know it's coming, you lose as an offense that little bit of a head start that allows you to get in position to block the pass rushers who's trying to get around the edge. It's a little subtlety like that, and it goes away completely when you're on the road trying to run your offense in a building that's loud. And the Vikings building is one of the loudest. So, yeah, it's going to be good for Cousins because they do go to Seattle and New Orleans this year to run his offense without fans there. But it's going to be in 8 home games, all of a sudden not the advantage the Vikings had, because their defense isn't going to have that edge at the snap, Big Cat.
So, Mike, answer me this. Trying to think about the world without fans and how this is actually going to work. Would the teams potentially still play in their stadiums, their empty stadiums, or would teams play in practice facilities? Maybe not, because those aren't big enough. How would it work? How would teams, execute this? Because I think the one thing that would be really weird is everyone kind of playing in a dome situation where everyone has that practice bubble, and having really controlled environment where now we don't even know what's going to happen with the entire season, where everyone is playing indoors, no fans. Talk about offensive numbers. It will be insane.
Well, and I think that you raise a good point that is still to be determined, because consider this. It's one thing to say no fans in any games, right? But what if in California there's another spike, the second wave, the third wave, which has been much publicized, and it was the third wave of the Spanish flu in 1918 that killed more people than either of the first 2 waves. So what if we get back to a point where there's a stay-at-home order in California and there's no exemption for sports? Well, at that point, the 49ers can't play in their stadium. The Chargers and the Rams can't play in their stadiums. what the hell do they do? And that's when you really get into some strange outcomes where you find a practice facility at a neutral site and you play the game there. You put all the teams in one state. Florida's made it clear that sports are an essential business. Do you have all 32 teams in Florida the way baseball's talking about putting all 30 franchises in Arizona and playing the games there? So these are all things to be determined, and these are all part of a plan that I think the NFL needs to be working through every permutation now. So when the virus dictates what is going to happen, it's just a matter of pressing the button on the predetermined plan, and this is what we do if this happens. And if something else happens, this is what we do. Instead of making it up on the fly. That's my big fear, Big Cat, that the league is going to find itself making it up on the fly instead of identifying every possible scenario and brainstorming every possible solution, which is what they should be doing right now, and I fear that they're not.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.